Frame trapping means leaving a gap in your block string that's big enough to allow the opponent to press buttons, but not big enough for any of their moves to become active. It's very strong because it's an offensive way to maintain control over an opponent who is trying to steal their turn back by mashing out of your block string. If there's anything I say here that doesn't make sense, please ask me down in the comments below or check out the video linked in the description on FGC lingo. In 2x KO, the fastest moves are standing light, with most of the cast having one that starts up in 6 frames, which is 1/10 of a second. However, there are a couple characters with faster options. Vi has a 4-frame counter, and when Blitz has steam, his grab armor starts up in 4 frames as well. This all means that we want to find block strings which frame trap Vi's and Blitzcrank's defensive options, which has the side effect of ensuring we can beat every character's fastest options. It is also future-proof, as the devs will likely stick with this 4-frame design language for future character-specific defensive options. But how do we find these frame traps? We are going to start in training. Select who you want to practice with, and select the enemy's point as Blitz. Go to bots, set block settings to always, and then come down to reversals and set the after block option to down S2, which is Blitz's grab. Also come to champs and set Blitzcrank's steam to infinite. Next, we are going to start pressing buttons against Blitz's block. If you find that he holds the block till the end of your string, then you just found a true block string, meaning there were no gaps. Congratulations, that's a useful tool, but we're here for a different purpose. Try doing a slower move like one of your heavies right after a faster move like one of your lights. If Blitz armors and grabs you in the middle of your block string, then the gap was too big, and we need to find a way to narrow it more. Generally, most characters can go from their lights into their heavies, but if this doesn't work for you, then experiment with your mediums into heavies. For example, Braum cannot go from his down light or his standing light into his heavies. It's just too big of a gap, but he can go from his lights into his S2. Now that we know the how, let's talk about the when. The point is to threaten the opponent with scary options and then punish them for mashing against it. Every character has a slower, more committal option that tends to have high reward but can be mashed against. It could be Alawi's forward S2 overhead, which spawns a tentacle, or Echo's overhead when he has his clone out because it gives a full combo. Every character can do their standing light against it if they feel it coming. So you want to threaten this option once or twice and then switch it up, so instead of going for overhead, you go for the frame trap and punish them for mashing against it. I encourage you to find 2 frame traps, one for the beginning of your block string and one for the middle or end. This way you can threaten different options at each phase. For example, Yasuo's standing light is +1, meaning it's his turn after the enemy blocks. So a common tactic is to make them block the light, then dash in for the grab. Once they see this, they may try mashing out or throw teching, both of which lose to his light into heavy frame trap. Or later in the block string, Yasuo may go into stance and dash behind the opponent, which is easily beat by mashing. Instead of dashing, he could go for his stance light, which not only frame traps off of his heavies, but also hits low. You can also manually build frame traps by slightly delaying your cancels. For example, your mediums to heavies are probably a true block string, but if you delay just a hair, then it frame traps. The point of this video is to help you find the auto-timed frame traps by just canceling one move into the next, but the next step would be to understand how to manually frame trap so you can build it into your block strings at any time. If you're having a hard time finding these auto-timed frame traps, please ask me in the comments down below or on Twitter and I will answer your question. If I don't, someone from my community will. They're very helpful. Now, what beats frame trapping? Watch out for your opponent to start parrying, in which case you can switch it up and start punishing the parry. A lot of options you originally threatened with will beat parry because they're slow enough that they hit after the parry is finished. Another option your opponent may choose is invincible moves like their ultimate. When you are frame trapping, be mindful of your opponent's super meter so you can be a little more careful when they have 3 bars. You will be able to find more frame traps against characters without these 4-frame defensive options, so it may be worth experimenting on your own. For example, Alawi's fastest option is her standing light at 8 frames, and she doesn't have any defensive counter or armor. She struggles really hard against frame trapping and needs to rely more on push block and retreating guard. But if you've been watching my channel, then you know how to beat those also. Do not rely too heavily on frame traps. The point of this video is to give you just another tool in your toolbox. It is not an end-all be-all offensive option. That's it guys. As always, thanks for watching and I'll catch you next time. Adios.